Hey folks, welcome back to another video. Apologies for having not done many lately. I've just been really struggling to find the time, what with climbing, training and work being like mad busy. It is grim out there today. I often say that on these videos when I'm indoors, because if it wasn't grim out there, I'd be outside doing something. I'm off work. I've been running an ML assessment this week, but my mate Mike has taken over for the next couple of days, taking the folks out on their expedition phase. Weather's been pretty good the first day. Second day, it was nice and warm, but it was a bit wild. Today is like fully wild, so it's going to be a damp one for them, but it's just ace to be out and about, so I'm sure they'll have a brilliant time going over sort of Snowdon side and stuff. It'll be brilliant. Today's video, no melodramatic titles. I was tempted to do something melodramatic title-wise, but I'm not sure what I'll do yet. It's something along the lines of, though, like whether I care about slings being static items. They're not stretchy and dynamic like the ropes that we use for climbing. The reason I'm doing this video is I get asked this question all the time, and it's a really good question. It's something along the lines of, you know, if I'm building a belay, can I use a sling? Because surely with slings being static, if my mate falls off, they're going to shock the system and it's not going to be able to take it. Thankfully, that isn't true. There's a few things to understand about slings so we can use them safely and appropriately, because we do have to be aware that they aren't stretchy and dynamic, but that's fine as long as we use them appropriately, as with many things in climbing, really, isn't it? Let's take this 60 centimeter sling to start with, right? Rated to 22 kilonewtons, that's the minimum they have to reach to pass the tests. We need to understand a little bit about full factors, but thankfully full factors, pretty simple really in their basic sense. Let's imagine this sling is anchored into this hand here. If I clip in directly to this, or I lasso it to my harness or something, and I just weight it, that's cool. No drama there, because this is a flipping strong thing. If I climb up to there, that's becoming less cool. If I fall off from there, how far am I going to fall? It's going to be 60 centimeters on a 60 centimeter sling. 60 divided by 60, 1, full factor 1. Okay. If I did something I'm not very keen on and climbed up all the way above the sling to there and fell off, I'm falling 120. 120 divided by 60, 2. That's a full factor 2. We don't like full factor 2s. Our kit doesn't like it. Our bodies don't like it either. We want to avoid that whatever the situation, but especially if we're directly onto a sling, that would be a really bad idea. Now, a lot of my kit's DMM, this sling isn't, but a lot of it is. To give you some context, 22 kilonewtons for the sling, 14 kilonewtons, 23 I think for that one, yeah, 23 kilonewtons for the actual carabiner. Number 4 or upwards nut, 12 kilonewtons. Below that they get a bit weaker but still pretty strong, but yeah, number 4 upwards, 12 kilonewtons. Gives you some context, doesn't it? Slings are really strong. However, when DMM have done some videos on this, and they've done some really good videos on this, they've tested doing a full factor 1 and a full factor 2, dropping 80 kilograms onto it, you know, that being roughly the size of an adult human being. I've written them down here because I want to get the figures right. Using an 8mm sling, which is one of these, where's he gone? There he is, because this is a DMM 8mm Dyneema sling. Doing that test with 80 kilograms, they got a peak reading of 17.8 kilonewtons when they attached that 80 kilogram mass and did a full factor 1. So anchored it, dropped it, bang, it read 17.8 kilonewtons. When they've done the same in a full factor 2, so that's going all the way up and then down with the 80 kilograms, 22.5 kilonewtons. So that actually exceeds the 22 it needs to meet. Thankfully for us, most climbing kit is actually over-engineered, so it actually usually breaks at a stronger force. So with that one, it didn't break the sling, but we're getting marginal, aren't we? Now, Dyneema slings, we love them because they're nice and light and you can get them super skinny, pretty abrasion resistant. Actually, even when they're cut through quite a bit, they retain a lot of their strength. If you fancy watching some other videos after this, go to How Not to Highline. They've got some great tests on there. Worth a watch. They did do some tests at the same time though on a nylon sling. I think it was wider, I think it was 16mm. Nylon has some stretch to it. We're still going to treat them as static items, but there's a bit more stretch than Dyneema. With the same tests, full factor 1, 14.3 kilonewtons, so a bit less. and with a full factor 2, 15.4, so again a bit less force putting through it all because of that stretch. But we do like the dynamic because it's all light and skinny and all that kind of thing. And it doesn't matter about those forces because we're just going to avoid putting it under those forces because of avoiding the situation. So if I build a belay out of a sling, what have I got between the belay and the climber when they fall off? A load of stretchy rope. That's the key to it. Look at the rope as the shock absorber, because we always climb on dynamic ropes in climbing, right? So when they fall off, it all stretches, doesn't it? It has that elasticity to it. When I attach myself to the belay as the leader, okay, maybe I'll clove hitch into a sling belay. There's not much rope out, but I'm tight on the anchors, aren't I? That's what I'm always banging on about on courses when people are learning to lead and stuff, is to weight the anchors so you shift yourself into that position. So there is no shock introduced to it all because I'm already tight on it. And when mate falls off, all the stretchy rope, great. Even if I decide to attach myself to that sling belay with my clove hitch and then direct belay off that sling setup with a guide mode belay plate, still doesn't matter that there's no, it's not going via me because there's all the rope between the climber and the ATC or the DMM pivot or whatever you're going to use. So as long as you've got that stretchy item in there, we're kind of all good. The next thing to think about in the same situation really is when we build our anchors, we then often tie an overhand into the sling, don't we, to do some equalising, whether it's this method or another method, but we tie a knot in there. Knots in slings, is that okay? Because that's a kind of hand-in-hand question really, because that knot in there could weaken the sling by up to 50%. So instead of scoring 22 kilonewtons, you're going to be more like 11 kilonewtons. Those numbers we said, even in the nylon one, they're scoring like 14, 15, 17, 22. So that's more than that knot can take, isn't it? But does it matter? No, because there's all that rope in the system again. So we're negating those numbers by putting the rope into the system, the nice stretchy rope. So it's okay to knot a sling, but why not a sling if there isn't a point to it? So sometimes I see people putting knots in slings when there's no need to, because I don't want to weaken it unnecessarily, even if it would take all those forces. So let's pretend you've put a sling around a tree as one anchor, where you can just clip those two ends, can't you? But sometimes I see people putting a knot in there that isn't achieving anything, so it's still around the same tree, but it's got a knot in there, still clipping those bits. Why weaken the sling? Even if it doesn't matter, why weaken it? Remember, slings are static, that's okay. If there's going to be any falling involved, make sure there's some rope in the system. That's why we always bang on about, if we do use a sling to clip into something as an improvised lanyard, you've got to stay snug on it. We never want to be climbing up onto a slack sling and then falling off. The sort of third part, I guess, to the question that I often introduce when I'm asking a question, people like to say, can I build a belay out of sling? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I knot it? Well, then I talk about what else have we got that we're happy falling onto that's a sling. It's that, isn't it? A quick draw, the dog bone part, is just a sling. And we're happy falling off onto that, aren't we? Because we're falling off via a rope. I've banged on about that already. The shock absorbing stretchy rope. So that's not really any different. It's the same principle, isn't it? Now that was just a fairly quick run through of that. We can go into loads of detail about all this stuff. The video is dry enough as it is though. I couldn't really think of anything exciting to do apart from, I don't know, getting the dog to jump on the table and do a dance or something, and obviously he's not going to do that because he's not allowed on tables and chairs. But it's a chatty one, it's a geeky one, but I think a useful one. I hope it was a useful one. Comment below if you thought it was. If you didn't think it was, don't comment below, because it's cutting every time you get like a nasty comment or dislikes and stuff. Do fire away with any questions though, always happy to answer as best I can, you know that. Do fire us on Insta, fire us on Facebook, click the likes, click the follows, all that kind of thing. Click the like button on this video if you enjoyed it, smash the subscribe button. 2,400 subscribers now, never expected that. I say this in pretty much every video, but thanks very much. It's blown my mind how much support there has been. the next video, as long as the weather's alright. I've got a really cool idea, and I hope it can be the next one, but we'll have to wait and see if the weather plays ball. That should be a bit more active and a bit more action going on rather than me just sat here in my dining room. Hope you've enjoyed this video though, hope it was a bit useful. More videos coming up very soon.